Yeah. It's the mafia. Yeah.
He's a monkey with cymbals in his hands instead of just catching the
and that's this. They're giving us like a 24-hour go feed. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a Bill City. Yeah, a Buffalo Bill City. Yeah, we got Josh Allen.
I know they mentioned something about an ultrasound to check the nerve endings and everything.
Hopefully he's not pregnant. That would be a disaster. I hear that's a 9-month timeline to recover from at the minimum, is what I've heard.
Yeah, Ike McKenzie on a jet sweep. Maybe it's a fake. Honestly, it's a TD either way when you got Josh Allen making plays. Win a ball before we get a new stadium.
Someone's making a new Twitter at some point. Maybe we should do that.
Honestly, I'll just start a shared Google Doc, and that'll be our new Twitter. That'll be our new Twitter.
Just people just adding shit in.
Anonymous hedgehog is saying "fuck your mom." Like.
This is our team forever. It is forever.
Folks, welcome into a brand new episode of the Crowdus' podcast. It's a Buffalo Bills game day, Picasso's pregame show here. Bills Dolphins, probably, debatably, not debatably at all. Debatably? I don't even know. Is this the biggest game for the rest of the season? Is it between this and Cincinnati? I guess tonight this is the biggest game for the rest of the season.
The biggest game is the next game.
That's true. The biggest game is the next game, and this is that next game. Bills Dolphins. I ate a salad. Now I'm choking on lettuce. This is why I don't eat vegetables. Jesus Christ.
Always comes back to get you.
Inactives came out just a few minutes ago, I believe, for both teams. Okay. The Bills, great news. You and Greg Tomset from Cover One on our Thursday show talked about it. If this guy was not active, then it would be cause for concern. Kaiir Elam is in the lineup tonight. No longer a healthy scratch. We can put to bed my QAnon level of conspiracy theories as to why he was not in the lineup. But Jake Micah, I think you said it best on Thursday. This is the exact kind of game you want Kaiir Elam dressed for. It fits his skill set. How big is having him over a guy like Xavier Rhodes for this defense tonight?
Well, yeah, I think one of the things I mentioned too was that if I put my conspiracy hat on, I think it was like McDermott doing some sensei type stuff to try to motivate him to be ready for this. He's going to be physical. Hopefully he gets this. I think he's going to start across from Trey White. I think that I really think that this is the matchup for him to go in and really be physical at the line. You tell me, you're the one that's much closer to the Bills Stadium, but it doesn't look like the weather is really acting up at the moment or will be at game time. Yeah. So it's really, first of all, we don't know what Tyreek Hill's health is going to be like in this game. Yeah. That is a factor that we're not going to know until we see him running on the field. But
he was a full participant the last few days of practice. He was only limited for one day this week, which is good news for the Dolphins, obviously. But you never know how bad these injuries are going to flare up. If it was a muscular injury, like, if it was like a hamstring or something like that, I would honestly think it would probably impact us a little bit more, especially out in the cold. Those hits are going to be a lot harder. That ankle, the worst part for him tonight is just, if it starts snowing during the game, you just sloppy field conditions, not being able to move as precisely as he usually does. But I do live about 3 minutes away from the stadium. It's dark out. There's no snow coming down right now. But we do know this lake effect snow, it's extremely unpredictable. It could come. They say it's probably going to be clear at the time of kickoff, and there's going to be some snow coming in throughout the course of the game. If that happens, I definitely do think this benefits the Bills by a long shot. The Dolphins are, I think we saw the chart from, I think it was Aaron Quinn posted the stats from teamrankings.com. The Bills are a top 10 run offense. They are the only run offense in the NFL with at least 100 yards per game on the ground, while the Dolphins, despite Mike McDaniel coming away from San Francisco with Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert, the 29th ranked run offense. So especially with Kaiir Elam, Tua is a one-read quarterback. Kaiir Elam is a very physical cornerback. He needs to get up in Tyreek Hill's grill. So does Trey White, right at the line of scrimmage. Delay those routes from developing just by a second, because that is what gets Tua in trouble, especially if it starts snowing tonight. You see Dolphins players
They're shirtless.
There
I
is
saw some
a
shirtless Dolphins players.
there's a big zone between, a tough dude and just being straight psychotic. And like, there's a lot of room in there, and going shirtless during warm-ups in 25-degree weather, it's
wild.
Absolutely wild.
It's wild. Well, Bills players did have tank tops, so at least they didn't go shirtless. I mean, that is another level to go, but it's football it's a crazy sport, man. That's all. That's like, what are we doing, guys? Like, you're cold. What are we doing? But I will say two things right now as I'm watching. Right now, as I'm watching the Browns and Ravens playing, it is a little bit more than flurries right now falling in Cleveland, which could be preemptive of what we see in about, say an hour or two in Western New York. That would make a lot of sense. Jacoby Brissett, I think, just got a fourth and one sneak, which is he is a god at apparently.
They brought him in just for the 4th and 1 sneak.
Yes, they've done that a couple times actually. Just brought him in on 4th and 1. Last week they did like a play action throw on 4th and 1, and he like overshot Peoples-Jones in the end zone by a minute. But that was the first thing that I wanted to mention. The second thing I wanted to mention, just about the defense in general, and I think it's the biggest thing that sticks out to me when I think about this game, is all the people that were missing week 3 and how much success they really had against only 200 yards of offense. I know the plays were out of whack. That's because the Bills offense was playing outstanding and the Bills defense was getting off the field quick.
Yep.
It was one big pass play, and it was Jaquan Johnson who blew that coverage. And we have not seen Jaquan Johnson play any meaningful time recently. I just think that the defense is so much more well-positioned, especially at home. A crowd's going to be amazing there tonight. That's a tough environment for Tua. Dolphins, I think also I saw earlier, sub 40-degree weather. They've lost their last 8 or 9 games or something like that too. That's what worries me about it, is everything is like stacked up, and it's been such a weird day of football. We saw literally the greatest comeback of all time, and Justin Tucker in this game, I count this as weird, missing a 48-yard kick and getting a kick blocked.
Yeah, so, I have him in my guillotine fantasy league, and
oh my god, you are just
rough, dude. I also had Dalvin Cook. I did have Dalvin Cook.
That's okay. That's nice.
It was rough.
That touchdown was probably amazing, though.
I don't have NFL Network, so I couldn't even watch it, dude.
No.
But one thing we're gonna watch together. I know intern Carson Gates. He was out and about in a tank top like some of the Bills were earlier. So we got to talk with our intern Carson about whether he is a tough guy or psychotic. We'll figure that out ourselves. But let's see what Carson has to say about this matchup against the Miami Dolphins.
Carves Countdown, part of Trainwreck Sports pregame show, sponsored by Picasso's Pizza. As always, huge matchup tonight, Week 15. Bills can clinch a playoff spot tonight, and a win would obviously mean a ton as far as the aspect goes of winning the division. Dolphins coming to town tonight. Obviously, big storyline is going to be how can the Dolphins affect, how can they play in the cold weather along with the snow. Obviously, Tua has not been sharp, in the games that he's played under 45 degrees. As far as the Buffalo Bills go, much different team since week 2. They get Trey White back, Matt Milano, Jordan Poyer. So the Dolphins are going to have to, make adjustments for that. Came down to my prediction tonight. Buffalo 24-13. Huge game expected out of James Cook. That's my prediction. And for you multitaskers out there, go Bills and go Sabres. Back to you guys.
Go Bills. Yeah. Go Bills, go Sabres, go Buttes, go Bandits. We got the quadrifecta of Buffalo sports tonight.
I will say, I will be multitasking. We will have the Sabres on. The Cavs play tonight too. It's a big night. Big night for over here. But I saw your 716 parlay also earlier.
I did. I put that up. It's plus 106 for the Bills and the Sabres to both win tonight. Yep.
Yeah, and you inspired me, and I also have a Tage Thompson, Josh Allen, anytime touchdown, anytime goal scorer.
Someone replied to me that I got to take it up a level, and before I head over to the Blarney Stone in South Buffalo, I'm gonna be doing that. Yeah, no, for sure. But Carson brings up
I live across the street from it's closed actually, but it was the Chicago Blarney Stone. Funny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if that's actually the name of it, but I know
my friend works there, and she convinced her boss to stay open just so that we would all have a place to watch the Bills game. So shout out Allie.
You're like Von Miller. renting out a whole sports bar for a game, like that's a
Hey,
flex.
you don't know the pull I have. You don't know the pull I have. But he brings up a lot of great points, and it's something that we already mentioned is there are so many people in and out of these lineups that were playing last time that weren't playing last time. So just go over the Bills official inactives right now. Xavier Rhodes, Dean Marlowe, who I don't know if I can't remember if he's suited up since we traded for him from Atlanta. I don't think so either. But nonetheless, great safety depth to have. I still think that was a decent trade to make at the time, especially with Hyde and Poyer both in question. Balin Spector and Ryan Bates, Tommy Sweeney, and of course, we already knew that Jordan Phillips would not be active tonight. On the Dolphins side of the football, inactives include that's last week's. I just had it. Oh my goodness, where'd it go? Well, I know Jeff Wilson's on there, Eric Rowe, Teddy Bridgewater, a receiver by the name of River Craycroft, and I still believe that is a fake football player. I don't believe he's real.
Didn't he score in that game? I'm pretty sure he scored against the Bills. I know he scored in the Ravens game. I remember that, but I don't know. Anyways, keep going.
Yeah. But Eric Rowe on that Dolphins defensive side of the football, that's big. That's big, especially since in Fact or Fiction, our segment that we kick off every Thursday show with, we learned that Xavier Rhodes is allowing much more yards per completion, about 8 more yards per completion this year than Dane Jackson. Put some things into perspective for everyone who hates on Dane Jackson. He's been perfectly serviceable in the role that he's filled for us. Xavier Rhodes, absolutely not. He is an absolute liability. And
I wouldn't want Xavier Rhodes against these.
Or not Xavier Rhodes, Xavier Howard.
Oh, okay.
Xavier Howard. Sorry, Xavier Howard, not Xavier Rhodes. Stupid.
Well, I wouldn't want. I'm glad Xavier Rhodes isn't going to be playing in this game tonight. I just don't think this is the matchup for him. I really like. You don't want your 31-year-old corner in the cold against the two fastest receivers in the league. That's for young legs.
Exactly. Yeah. and the Bills, they're undefeated when they have Jordan Poyer in the lineup. I don't know what more he could have done to help this defense.
Wins are a safety stat.
Wins are a safety stat. They're not a quarterback stat. They're a safety stat, and they are a Matt Milano and Tremaine Edmonds being in the game at the same time stat. But when it comes to the Bills on offense, because I feel like we've talked a lot about, what the Dolphins offense can look like in this weather. Feels like that's been the main storyline here. The Bills on offense, though. If the weather stays as it is right now, I don't imagine much of what the Bills want to do at all being hindered.
I mean, even if it starts like flurrying, like I see it here in Cleveland right now, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to make the offense look cooler when they're doing what they're doing.
Exactly, right? Yeah.
Anything. I really don't think the weather, unless it like starts dumping like that Colts game, unless it just randomly starts dumping and it's like an inch an hour or something that starts coming down there. I really think that both offenses should be able to operate at their maximum capacity.
Yeah, no, 100%. And, Cole Beasley, I think, is going to make a massive difference for them this week.
How about that? How about Cole Beasley
already being
in a Buffalo
active.
Bills uniform today? That's crazy, man. And John Brown. So John Brown is playing, or he didn't get called up, correct? So he is not.
The wide receivers for today's game are Khalil Shakir, Isaiah McKenzie, Cole Beasley, Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs. So no John Brown this week.
So John Brown saves his. So what they're gonna do? This is what
they're
I was
basically
thinking the other day.
Yeah, they're alternating it, right?
Yeah, I think that you play the next week and ramped up again against the Bears. Give him 2 weeks in a row, and then it's basically whatever way you think you need to attack the Bengals better. If you need the deep threat in that game, you play John Brown and give Cole the last week, or vice versa. If you think Cole is the important guy that could help there, I think that's how they do it. And then I anticipate both those guys being active every playoff game, and Khalil Shakir probably being the guy that sits just because of numbers. And I would rather have John Brown and Cole Beasley in the lineup in a playoff matchup, honestly. I think at this point.
Yeah, no, I would probably say the same. And that's not to say that Khalil Shakir is not going to be a fantastic contributor for this team.
No, not at all.
Still a massive.
But there's a reason these guys got brought in, and it's not for a game even tonight. It's for January. So
now on that note, though, like I am excited to have John Brown back. Very excited to have Cole Beasley back. But do you think that in those signings there's a little bit of an admittance by Brandon Beane that this offseason he didn't do enough for the wide receiver core?
Some desperation, you mean? Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. But I don't think it's I mean, I guess, yes, he didn't do enough looking in hindsight, but I think it's really just on the development of those two guys in the like into this season. But let's also remember that Jamison Crowder got hurt very early this season.
There's also
he might have been the guy that maybe he is, a 900-yard receiver or something right now, and is just electric. Like he had that potential and just got shut out right away. So I feel like it's hard because like Crowder could have been, we didn't get to see like how important he could have been. So no one really thinks about him. And it just all falls on Gabe because even whatever Crowder, especially all the hype we got in preseason too about McKenzie, it really became McKenzie or Crowder. And Gabe's definitely number 2 though. And those two guys that ended up in those positions, they haven't been consistent. But do you think one of those guys has a big game tonight? Because I feel like McKenzie, he had a good game the first game. I feel like he can have another good game tonight, like we were talking about with Greg on Thursday.
I don't think it's going to be McKenzie. I think I'll be shocked if we see him out there for more than 20% of the snaps, honestly. I think I see a big Dawson Knox game incoming. I really do.
I also agree with that, I think.
Yeah. I mean, like we started, and I've said this on like too many shows, but on that touchdown that he scored against the Jets, it was one of those mismatch assignments where there was James Cook and Dawson Knox on the field at the same time, and the linebackers committed more to James Cook and left Dawson Knox open. The fact that we have people like Nyheim Hines and James Cook who can come out of the backfield, plus Josh Allen as a running threat, now throwing Cole Beasley, an actual verified threat in the slot, like that middle of the field area, that intermediate level of the field is going to be very difficult for the Miami Dolphins, for any team to cover. And the Dolphins are really bad against tight ends. Gerald Everett had a pretty good week against them last week, and that's even with Keenan Allen absolutely popping off. Like, and Gerald Everett, he's a good tight end. He's not great. I would take Dawson Knox over him 9 days out of the 10 of the week, probably. I would say he might be a little more consistent than Dawson Knox when he's called upon, but
I think he's a better receiving. He's a better receiving threat, but Knox is better at everything else as a tight end. Yeah, he's a better all-around tight end for sure.
Yeah, and there's been
the drop off isn't too big there.
No, it's not. And justifiably, there's been a lot of criticism about Dawson Knox and how he signed this $54 million contract in the offseason and he hasn't completely produced yet. But keep in mind, like touchdowns, they are not very consistent. They are hard to predict in the NFL. And there is going to be some regression due for Dawson Knox. And maybe the first half of the season was the regression, because last year he scored 9 touchdowns throughout the year, I believe. And now this year, I think he's up to 3 on the year. That's with missing a few games here and there. If we get him up to like 5 or 6 touchdowns between now and the end of the season, I'm still going to stand by that contract and say, this is all right. This is okay. What he provides us just as a dynamic threat, people need to pay extra attention to this guy. And, I think that we're going to see him exactly as valuable as we thought he would be this offseason. This week against Miami, next week against the Bears, another really bad defense, against the Bengals, whose linebacker play is suspect as well, and against the Patriots, who we know he has he's had success. He's had a lot of success against them. So I think Dawson Knox's FU tour to everyone who has questioned that contract, it started last week and it's not stopping until the playoffs.
I also think people need to remember what Dawson Knox has gone through just this whole year when you're criticizing him. And it's not, you want to think football wise and everything, but literally, like, I don't hold anything against him for this entire season. He could have not played, in my opinion, if he wanted to. And I think I would have been okay with that. Yeah. So, but I do think that now is like everything you said about the matchups coming up. He's been getting involved. Dorsey's like, you've seen a little bit more trying to get him involved, and it's mostly been out of necessity because the receivers have been lacking too. But he could be that second guy right behind there. And I really think he has that potential, especially and the opportunities there. Like someone needs to grab a hold of that second spot and make use of it. But yeah, so I think it's right for it. And you want to play your best football now anyways. So here we are, December, big tight ends. This is when their time to shine, bro, in the snow. Like,
oh my God. Yeah.
Come on.
No, it's the perfect time for him. And this is the perfect time for us to give our predictions. For myself, I think that this game, I'm feeling a blowout. I really am, and that scares me because I'm wrong every time I do it. But I'm gonna say 28-13. They do not kick 2 field goals. The Dolphins do not kick 2 field goals. I think they score on their opening possession. Mike McDaniel goes for 2 and does not get it. That is my prediction for it. So that's where I stand. 28-13. 2 possession victory, and another close game that the Bills don't win. Another time they win and it's not a close game. What a fucking shame. This team, we'll be questioning this team when they walk out of here with a 15-point victory against a divisional opponent on a standalone game on Saturday night. Man, what do you think? How do you see this one going down?
I'm about the same as you. I think the Bills are going to be able to control this game if they don't get in their own way, which is very possible.
Very possible. They
can definitely get in their own way. They love
do that.
Yeah, they love to do that way too often. And like I said, these 2 games have been chaotic all day. I'm expecting some chaos. I'm hoping that it's good chaos for the Bills and it's like a 28-0 run early. I don't know if I'm going to predict that, but I'm going with like 33-16. I think that's what I'm going with. 33-16. Yeah.
All right.
I think that's where I'm going with. I think it's a easy 2 possession, 3 possession win by the end of the night. They were better than this team in week 3. They should have beat them then. The home crowd going to be crazy there. I know that everybody's going to be rocking there. I think the weather is going to be a real thing for Tua because he really has never played well in it. The Dolphins really don't ever play well in Buffalo. Even throughout the last 20 years, how many games have the Dolphins come in and had a great game in Buffalo? It just doesn't happen a lot, especially in this setting. So I'm not too. I'm with you. That worries me that I'm not that worried. But what are you gonna do? Here we are.
Well, here's what we're gonna do.
The snow's still pretty coming. It's coming down decently still in Cleveland too. So I would not be surprised if by kickoff there's some stuff coming in at least back in. Because is it still clear? Give me your live update.
Live update of the snow right now. Nothing's coming down.
All right. See,
absolutely nothing. It is cloudy. I can definitely see that, but no precipitation right now. I imagine it'll change probably around the 9 o'clock hour. I'm not a meteorologist. I did take it in college, my sophomore year. But other than that, I remember the one time I matched with a girl on Tinder for my meteorology class, and she only swiped right on me because she needed help with the homework.
Dang, there's so many better ways you could ask for help for homework.
She could have just walked up to me in class. Yeah, I know. It was my Tinder game.
Did you help her?
Strong. Yeah, I saw the message late, but we studied for the final together because I felt
all right. There you go.
There you go. No. But we both think it's going to be a blowout. So I'm going to make a proposition to you that we both throw $10 on minus 12.5. It's plus 158.
Okay.
All right. Look at that. A podcast spot right there. I
can't say no.
Yeah, exactly. See, I know you can't say no. $10.
I would never do such a thing.
I'll have one less beer when I go out tonight. See, it's already paid for.
I'm staying here. So now that's why I do have, my touchdown parlay is now done. I told you about the Sabres one. I also have Josh Allen over 1.5 touchdowns because he has thrown for 2 touchdowns in 7 straight games against Miami.
Love to hear that.
That's a good thing to keep rolling.
My parlay that I have for this is Tua under 227.5 receiving or passing yards, and Josh Allen over 48.5 rushing yards. I think that's how this goes. Yeah.
All right.
I do love that.
My other one I have Bills money line, Diggs touchdown, Diggs 80 plus yards, Knox plus 25 yards. That was earlier.
Love
so
that.
We were right when you said Knox. I was like, yep. Because I did the 25 just because you never know, but I think he at least gets he could have 4 catches for 33 yards and a touchdown, and I'd be pretty satisfied with his night. All right, so what are we looking at? 12.5, you said?
Minus 12.5. Figure, a 13-point victory. That's within reason, I think. Get hit one of those important numbers. If you're teasing, lesson for all you gambling people out there, a 6-point teaser sounds well and good. If you're not going over one of those crucial numbers like a 3, a 6, a 7, anything that is a typical football score, it is a bad teaser to take. That is just my
don't ever take
advice.
A 14.5 or something like minus or 7.5. Yeah, always avoid those.
Exactly. Always. We are here to educate. and we are here to make sure that we all win all of our bets. I'm also here to make sure that I get to the Blarney Stone in South Buffalo on time, and I just found out that is a cash bar only. So since I have to stop at Bank of America,
ATM.
Yep, this is where we're going to stop the show. Give us your predictions. Let us know how you think this game is going to go. You think Tua's noodle arm is not going to do too well tonight? Me either. Let us know. Give us your score prediction.
Hold up, yo. They're showing. I'm watching. They're showing fans in the tailgate as they're coming into Buffalo now that the Browns game's done, and there were just two signs that said Tua, welcome to Alabama. Like that's never. I think for the rest of his career, we're just gonna call Buffalo Tuscaloosa for the week that it's Dolphins week. It's hilarious.
And my final shout out Bill's Elvis, correcting the grammar on Mike McDaniel's shirt. I wish it was colder, not were colder.
That's
Great
true.
work, Bill's Elvis. As an AP English, a former AP composition student, I thank you for your service. Shout out Picasso's Pizza. Shout out Outlet Liquor, fans of Buffalo. Jake Micah, thank you for joining me as always. We'll be live again on Tuesday for our usual Tuesday program with Robin Mundy of the Buffalo fan base. But until then, for myself, Jake Micah, all of Trainwreck Sports, good night now and go Bills.